Hello and welcome back to our Access class live stream. Today I'm here with the lovely Corey and Jay, and we are back for another week. Today we're going to be talking about production and elements of production. Last week we covered elements of pre-production, so planning for your video shoot, and now we're assuming that you already have all of those elements and we're going in ready to shoot. So, yeah, to start out, I think that production is very different from like pre and post production, mainly because of the time constraint involved. So when you're like planning, you can take your time with it, or when you're editing afterwards, you also have time to make fine-tune adjustments and stuff like that. But when you're there on set, you might have a certain amount of hours where you need to film, or you might need to film like when you're meeting with actors specifically, or when there's daylight. So because of that, that's why these pre-production elements and planning are so important, because it'll help you be more efficient and really maximize your time when you're there, and also help you combat any sort of challenges that you might run into when you are filming. So I know that last time we talked a little bit about how, like with music production, with Corey's expertise, it's kind of blended a little bit between what pre-production and production is like. But I was wondering, like, for you too, Jay, for both of you guys, like how you incorporate that planning into production and how you specifically use those elements.
You want to start, Corey?
Oh, I'll start. Yeah, sure. So, like you said, so my area of expertise is music, and we were just having a conversation earlier about how studio recording is pretty different from which is the kind of stuff that I get up to mostly, is pretty different from like the kind of like location recording that's so common in video production. Like maybe shooting on like a soundstage is more like what I'm experienced with. But yeah, there's not as many environmental constraints. We're not concerned about like recording the track 3 only when the sun is directly above us or anything like that, which becomes important when you're shooting, or when it's sunny out. It's not like you can only record when the weather's right or something like that. Although you don't want to record during a thunderstorm, probably. It's not cool. But still, like you mentioned, like efficiency of time when you're actually doing the thing becomes really important. So like a huge part of like if I'm like if I'm coming from the perspective of being a musician, I'm so much everything that goes in before the studio is like the pre-production, right? Knowing what parts you're gonna do, how you want to go about doing it. Do you want to track everything live? Do you want to do everything one track at a time? Blah blah blah. Just kind of making all these choices and making sure that everyone involved is aware of what the choices are, so that when you go to the studio and you're like everyone's there, everyone's working, you don't want to waste anyone's time, and so you don't want to be scratching your head trying to figure out what you're doing when like there's only so many hours a day. That's maybe our one time constraint, is that you want to get stuff done. So anyways, just that I guess is it. If I'm the engineer engineering that session, I'm probably not preparing a whole great deal of time in advance, because that's most my job is to be ready at all times, for when someone shows up, and then it's just about like setting things up in the way that makes sense for the style of that production. So whether it's like a singer-songwriter playing guitar, or like a rock band, you do something totally different. Just like, depending on the size of your cast, whether like, if you're doing some narrative or not, or whatever, I guess we're talking about narrative stuff specifically here, but like, all those things can start to look really different too.
Yes.
Okay, I feel like I just rambled really hard. Jay, what about you?
Could you repeat the question
for
me?
I was just wondering, so now for like video, how you incorporate elements of your planning, like when you're actually shooting.
Yeah.
How do I incorporate?
How do you use because you said you were big on shot lists, so I'm just wondering like how specifically you use that when you're actually shooting.
Right. Well, I think that, hold on, I'm sorry, I'm like, we're doing a different thing for the audio, so I'm like trying to make sure all the levels are good. I guess I can hear myself, so.
Jay's hearing himself on a delay, which doesn't help either.
That's why I have to take them off and then listen to it for everybody else. But yeah, I mean, I think the most like, as far as like prepping with that stuff, like if you take everything you've done in pre-production and you move into production, I think the biggest thing that you can do is probably kind of, I think if you have a solid crew, I think that's super important. If you have your like assistant director or your cinematographer and everybody has gone over the plan and like, and it can take that weight off your shoulder, I feel like during that production, if your assistant director like knows what's going on and like and your cinematographer knows exactly what shots you want to get and like all that's been done in pre-production, everything just runs so smooth, and like you can just like go through the process and not get, like Corey was talking about, kind of like you don't have to make anybody wait for you. And so like during production, just like taking that and converting it into that, like that's the whole point of all the work you've done in pre-production is to make production run smoothly, and having multiple people to handle those things makes it run even more smoothly. I feel like if everybody's coordinated, of course there can be, you know, don't want to run into like the too many cooks in the kitchen scenario, but that's for me at least, like that's super important. Having people that you can rely on and like work with and be, you know, and coordinate with is, and they know your, you know, your artistic vision, and they you know, it, yeah, that's
Yeah.
I can't stress enough how important your crew is, and like working with people that you can really rely on, and you know, that's I guess part of that production phase, pre-production phase is, you know, getting your crew together, but
making sure they're eye to eye and all on the same page is really important.
Right,
I think another element that we didn't really talk about in pre-production that leads into production is creating like a shooting script. So that's really helpful. It's kind of taking your shot list and then organizing it in the order of which you're going to shoot it, and then actually putting times of like the schedule of when you're going to be getting each shot. And that's super helpful because oftentimes you can like in the moment get really absorbed in like this one shot and you want to make it perfect, and then you're like, oh no, we ran out of time, we had like 20 more shots we needed and the sun's going to go down. So making sure that you're kind of on track to get everything you need is one of the big benefits of having like a shooting script. And so when you're thinking about being on production, one of the biggest things you need to consider is your equipment. And so I wanted to go over to Jay really quickly to talk a little bit about cameras.
Okay, so I guess when you, okay, so of course you're making a movie, so basically you can't, I mean you can make a movie with just sound, I guess. You can build that soundscape if you really were into it. But you know, the basic, when you think of cinema, when you think of video, you think of, well, video. And the only way to get video is with a camera. But we all pretty much have cameras with us. And I would say if you're going to, like, if you're just getting into filmmaking, your phone camera is probably going to be better than the old camera that your mom or dad has, like, you know, in the closet that's been sitting in there for 8 years. Most phones have a nicer camera than even like 3-year-old DSLRs now. Like, you're gonna get a good picture out of your phone if you take the time to learn how to use it, and especially if you can dive into the manual functions of your phone. Almost all camera apps on your phone will have some way of toggling on or off, like a pro mode or a manual mode. And once you dive into that and you get familiar with all the fancy terminology for cameras, that's when you can really unlock the potential of the phone on your camera. It's a good place to start, and you know, you can kit out your phone to do a lot of things. You know, whether that's an additional connection to a better microphone, a wireless microphone. If you're doing interview style stuff, or you want to put a lav mic, you can connect those to your phone. You can get gimbals specifically, which are 4 phones that are much cheaper than camera gimbals that are just as good.
Hey Jay.
Oh yeah.
For those of us who don't know what a gimbal, I mean I know what a
Oh,
gimbal
yeah.
is, but I think I there was a time when I did not. So for those watching who don't know what that is.
Yeah. So basically a gimbal, and I wish I had one to show you guys, but essentially, if you took your phone and put it on a tripod, right, it's going to be static. You can't really move it. All my tripods are being used, but you put your camera on a tripod. It's going to be, you know, locked down in one position and it stays there. Well, the gimbals, typically you hold them, and they can essentially compensate for any movement that you make, or can kind of be different. Ones can be set up differently, but essentially what it's doing is stabilizing your shot, whatever video you're getting. So if you're, you know, holding your gimbal and you trip over a rock or something, and that motion is going to be stabilized, or if you're trying to do a panning shot and you know you want it to be really smooth, holding it like this, you know, isn't going to always get you the smoothest shot. But if you put it on a gimbal, they're mechanical and they do it for you. Some of them are there are weighted gimbals, which are essentially the same, but you pretty much make a I don't know what you call those. It's almost like a scale, but you balance out the scale so there's weight on one end and it's the same weight as your camera or your phone, and it sort of evens out the kind of smooths out any movement.
Oh, so you like hold it in the middle and it kind of like seesaws.
Right, essentially. There's a lot of different types of gimbals. Even just getting a mounted, like a handle for your phone, or any kind of like rig where you can get your hands away from the device. Same goes for cameras. The further away you can get, like even if you put this on a selfie stick, like you're gonna get smoother video than holding it. So
the same goes for microphones too. Just as a quick aside, handling noise. So like the problem with a camera is like it will jitter, like your heart beats while you're holding it, and like your hands move a little bit, you know. But I mean like you know, if you ever try to like do like hold and like do like a close shot, you know, like your body just moves a little bit. And so like audio equipment's really the same way. Except like sound equipment can't tell where or doesn't know where you're pointing it. Right. And so like. If anyone's ever used one of those little Zoom recorders and like held it in their hand and then like rubbed on it, it just translates through the device. It sounds really so being able to put things down or get them away from your hands, have any kind of physical thing translating that motion, like it's just good.
Right. So it's it's weird because, you know, you say like, oh, you move the things away from you, but say you have your camera and you don't have any kind of tripod or anything. Also, like, just like at your center, you're going to be more stable than, you know, holding your arms out. So there's like a whole technique, and it's funny to watch people with those, the gimbals have a certain style, so you can tell if somebody's used a gimbal for a long time by the way that they walk. Because you can really, like, there's like all sorts of different methods for stabilizing how you walk, you know. Like you can get really into it, and there's some gimbal operators that I've seen that, like, you know, they have the motion down. It's like a different way of moving almost. But yeah, that's a pretty crucial part. You can get away without one, you know, if you're going for that handheld look, which is actually pretty popular. You know, you get that like found footage style.
Seems more and more popular these days.
It is, yeah. I mean, it's simple enough. You can still, you know, if you don't make your viewer sick moving a camera around, which, you know, as some people are, you know, you can still get motion sickness even just watching a really shaky video. But yeah, gimbal's a good piece of gear to have, and they're really, the ones for the phone aren't terribly expensive. And you can make what do they call them? They're not necessarily gimbals, but they're just like almost like a rig, like a separate camera rig that you can like hold, like has like handles and you can hold onto it, and then the camera sits in the center. So it kind of, you know, it's almost like a steering wheel. Some of them look like they're, you know, rounded. But, you know, you can get those sort of like gliding shots with one of those.
And you can make those your own.
Right, yeah.
PVC pipe and stuff like that.
I've never seen a DIY one. That sounds fun.
Yeah, PVC pipe just like wrapped around, or you can make like a cage kind of. So
it's just then you just hold it in your hands.
Exactly.
Kind of
right,
like
yeah. So
neat.
But yeah, so that's, I mean, for cameras, you know, I think that's a good start with a phone. And then of course you could spend a few $100s for something like these cameras that we use here, which are just like standard HD camcorders. They've got all the plugins you need, and they, you know, can hold a charge pretty well, and they've got stabilization inside the camera, so it like helps a little bit. You know, and of course you go from there, and you sort of, you know, it's you know, Brianna made a good point earlier. We were talking, and like your video is important, but and most seasoned filmmakers will tell you that I feel like your audio is definitely. People will sit down and, you know, watch a film that's, you know, poorly filmed but has decent sound quality. But if you start like if your viewers can't hear your actors or can't or there's a screeching noise or and it's just painful to listen to, probably more likely that they won't have a good time versus
definitely
and it trades off. Some people, it's all a matter of preference, but you can I feel like you can get away with having bad video over bad audio.
Exactly. Yeah, I would agree, and that's why I would probably recommend investing more in audio than video. Well, depending. So if you are gonna go with your phone, I would say don't sweat it. Don't worry about getting any sort of fancy camera or spending a bunch of money on that, because there are other ways to improve your production value, and one of them is getting really clean audio. So I was mainly gonna ask you guys how do you think that people can improve the quality of their audio if they have budget constraints?
Yeah.
It's the best way to get clean audio.
Cool. I think this is a me question.
Yeah.
So I like this question a lot. This is something I answer for people, although I tend to answer it mostly in a studio recording setting based on who I interact with. I think most people who get into doing sound they come one of two ways. They come in through music, or they come from doing video, and then they're like, oh geez, I need to make it sound good too. Yeah. And so we were having a conversation earlier about how the techniques are really similar, but the tools that people choose to use are often really different. So I have a lot of microphones, a lot. I probably own 7, 8, 10 mics or something like that. Of various kinds that have various purposes for music. Some are used for vocals for live performances. Some are used for studio vocals. Some are instrument mics. Blah blah blah. No microphone really has a job, but some are better at some things than others. But they're not always the right thing for capturing dialogue for film or something like that. When we're doing music, we tend to work in these controlled environments, where the sound ideally is managed. It's free from extraneous noise. The room we're in is treated to sound well, as good as we can get it, and then we can just throw up mics and just get creative. When you're doing location and set stuff for video, pretty much all that goes out the window because you're not in a treated environment. You are completely constrained by how things look because we don't care. I can put a mic right in front of someone's face if I'm recording, but if we're doing video, you might want to see them. So all of a sudden now we got to care about how it looks. So the tools, even if you're an audio person and you have audio stuff, you might not have the right thing for doing video. Let's just crawl our way up from the bottom of the budget. So at the very bottom of the budget is the thing you already have. Your phone can record audio. It's not going to be very good, probably. I'm not sure what the broad world of phone mics is like, but I've got an iPhone 7 and it sounds like garbage. It sounds terrible. So getting some it's because it's got these tiny little mics hidden in this little grill here. It can't it's got a tiny little capsule. It's designed to be tiny versus designed to be good. So anything you can do to upgrade that really helps. So there's a few basic places people start. And I wish I had prepared by grabbing. I have some of these things over there, but you can invest in a simple portable recorder.
I have one.
Oh, cool.
The
so
H4
yeah,
N4.
H4n.
H4n. So this the Zoom H4n and the H4 before it was probably the number one tool for film people doing audio.
Yeah, and that one was a couple $100.
Yeah, and they come in a bunch of different models. I have the H1 in the other room, which is I think $100 is the cheapest one they make.
You got the H5 as well.
Yeah, we have the H5. These are all products made by Zoom, which is not the video conferencing company, different company.
Yeah.
Although I feel like they're really close, right?
Yeah.
Video conferencing, video camera. Anyway.
Yeah.
But so these recorders are really cool because they have microphones built in, so they're a really easy entry point. So the H4n has these
2 external mics.
Yeah, it has
They range from 90 degrees to 120 if you turn them too.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's got a good little range there.
So this thing's so there's a pair of mics, which means that you can record in stereo. So this is a really important concept to keep in mind when you're doing your audio stuff. It's like mono versus stereo. So mono is like the one source, right? You could play it out one speaker, or if we listen on two speakers, like in headphones, it's going to play the same thing in each ear. Stereo is when there's a different signal to each ear, basically. So music is like very stereo, but dialogue isn't so much all the time. And so like tends to be like a lot of times like capturing stuff on set is actually mono. And the reason is like if you take, can you see that real quick?
Yeah.
If I have this thing and I point it at my mouth like this, it's capturing a stereo field. So like if I drift to the left or to the right, my voice is going to drift to your left or to your right if you're listening to it in stereo. Whereas if this is a mono mic and it's only got one source, I'm just going to get a little quieter as I get off axis. So it stops knowing whether you want to capture something in mono or in stereo is really important. The cool thing about this is it allows you to do both. With the built-in mics, lets you capture stereo, and the XLR inputs allow you to input any other microphone that you could possibly want. So why would you choose one or the other? Stereo mics are for ambience in film land generally. When you want to capture like the three-dimensionality of a scene, you want stereo. And so the reason this thing goes between 90 and 110, I think you said?
120, yeah.
120?
Mm-hmm.
Very wide pattern.
Yeah.
So the reason it does that is it allows the mics to pick up a wider range. So 90 degrees is a very close pattern. You choose that because it's very, like the center is very strong. The wider pattern is more like how our ears work, which they're pointed like out in different directions. And so a wide pattern just sounds wider and sounds just like a little more three-dimensional to us. Yeah. So there are a lot of cheaper options than this too. Like the H1N I have is very similar, except it does not have these inputs. So these are called these are actually combo jacks, but they accept either XLR or T or like quarter-inch like TS or TRS connections. And so you can use these to plug in instruments, line inputs from mixers, or another like a couple microphones. And so if you're using for like doing film stuff, like the two main kinds of mics that you might want to use are, aside from like stereo mic for ambience, are a boom mic and a lavalier mic.
Exactly. Those are big ones.
We can see this boom here, which is capturing audio over the desk for Brianna, and so the idea of the boom mic, I'm calling it a boom, but it's not a boom mic, it's a shotgun mic.
Shotgun.
The idea of the shotgun is that it's got this long capsule, and it's constructed that way to cause it to become very directional. So when you're choosing microphones, the directionality matters. There's this thing called a polar pattern or a pickup pattern. Does that make it to the stream when you do that?
What's that? Oh, probably.
That's exciting.
Well, no, it's
Where's the
probably very loud. I'm sorry, guys. I forgot the camera mics were on. But for some reason, it doesn't want to focus on the boom mic.
Oh yeah, that's okay.
Oh.
It's because
there it is.
You can't focus on a boom mic. It's trying to stay out of the shot.
Yeah.
So so they're very directional and they pick up sound from a distance. And so this is great because you can point it at your source that's on camera and it's heard. And what's off camera is not. So you're actually hearing me mostly. You're probably hearing me a little on everything, but mostly you're hearing me for a microphone that's mounted on top of this camera. It's called the Rode Video Mic. It's another slightly shorter shotgun microphone. So your options are like camera mounted is cool, but the portable recorder allows you to do the thing where you can get away from the camera. And if you have a second person who can hold a boom mic above your talent, then it allows you, if you have someone on camera, they can focus on just the visuals and offload the job of doing audio to somebody else.
Super important.
It's
another
way
thing about
better.
having a good crew.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
The more things you can divvy up to people,
And whatever microphones you're using, I would strongly recommend having like headphones so that you're monitoring it as you're recording, because that way that you instantly know if there's like wind noises, if there's popping or like any background going on.
Absolutely.
The worst thing is if you were just recording without listening to it and then afterwards realize, oh wait, we couldn't hear any of their talking.
Yeah.
Same goes for the stream here.
Yeah.
That's why I'm constantly checking to make sure.
Totally.
Yeah, and if you don't have that, if you're not able to do it, I would say like do some test audio at least, like at minimum if you're doing an interview or something, like have them do, talk for 30 seconds,
Yeah.
listen back, make sure it's clean.
At the very least, but like problems can pop up.
It's true.
And they're in microphones they sort of seem like ears, but they're not. They're more sensitive. So like, I'm not distracted by the cars going around outside right now, but like the mics are gonna pick them up.
Yeah, because we can like tune into
Yeah,
certain things.
we're like our hearing's kind of selective in a weird way, and so like once things get processed and like things get turned up and like I'm gonna use a technical term, once the audio gets compressed a little bit, it starts to bring up those low volume sounds, and all of a sudden like you'll wish you had a more directional microphone or something like that. So the other kind of mic that I mentioned that I didn't get into is a lavalier microphone. So this is like probably, if you're doing a low to no budget film, this is probably not something you're going to be doing. But they're getting cheaper all the time. And what a lav is basically, I wish I had one with me here too. Basically like a little like, I mean they're so small, like smaller than the tip of my pinky finger. Little tiny omnidirectional microphone capsule that comes on the end of a little wire, and basically you use it to clip onto people. So have you ever seen those little like mics that clipped onto people's shirts, or like in narrative productions, like it's usually hidden in costumes, or like sometimes in people's hairlines, or like under the brim of a hat. So those typically come hand in hand with a wireless transmitter, because like if you have to run a wire, it kind of defeats the purpose of the lav kind of thing. So it starts to add some expense, because now you have a microphone, you have a wireless transmitter, blah, 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 blah. But that's what you really need to like get away from the mic and still be able to use it.
Yeah.
So this, we're talking about a lot of equipment, and it starts to add up kind of quick. So remember, you can shoot with your phone, and every little piece of thing that you add to it just makes it a little bit better.
Yeah, and those lav mics too, you can also get ones that connect directly into your phone. So you don't need like the separate recorder. You can do that into your phone. That improves the sound rather than just getting it straight from your phone. I was
gonna say I totally wish I brought this with me today, but I just put together this cool little setup where I have like a cheap tripod, and then I got like a little phone mount for the tripod, and then it has what's called a shoe adapter on top. And so then my H1N sits on the shoe above. So so that's the shoe adapter like on top of the camera. There's such a thing as a hot shoe, which provides power, and a cold shoe, which doesn't. That's a hot shoe.
On an old camera too.
That's pretty cool.
Impressive.
So then the recorders, if you get a newer one, like the old H4 doesn't do it, but the H4N might, and the H1N does. It works as a USB interface with my phone. So I can plug it digitally directly into my phone, shoot video on my phone with the sweet stereo audio from the built-in mics.
Awesome.
And it's all in one self-contained package.
That is so cool.
So like that's a really sweet solution.
Yeah.
So if you have a phone, like you can put that together for under $200. Tripod mounted, nice stereo microphones, and you're off to the races. Okay, I'm gonna stop talking about equipment. Let's get questions.
Good. One of the main things that you'll run into if you're filming, especially outside, is wind. That's like one of the biggest problems to try to eliminate. So usually that's done with what's called a dead cat.
Yes.
Which is just this little, you've probably seen it, like fuzzy bit of cloth. Oh, we have some to show. Great.
Probably gonna hear that coming up.
Yeah. So you can use one of these. You can also improvise too. Like just the other day, I was filming an Access class video and I forgot the dead mic. Dead cat for mine. Here it is.
Yeah.
So fuzzy. Are you coming over? Okay. So if you don't have one, you can actually use any other sort of cloth. So I actually used a Santa hat the other day. Oh, yes, I didn't have one, and it worked so well. So I just my microphones are here, and I just put the hat over it.
Oh,
and make sure that you set it down somewhere. Don't be holding it, because like we were talking about earlier, if the fabric rubs on it, it'll be really loud.
Oh, yeah.
So make sure it's stationary, and these don't work like 100% of the time.
Busted.
Caught in 4K.
I wanted to crawl out because I found I'm gonna grab my H1N.
Oh,
So this is the little small guy. These things usually will come with like a foam windscreen like this. That just like slots over, like the mics are caged in here, so I can just like slot this foam over there. This does not actually help against wind really at all. It does pretty much nothing.
Minimal, yeah.
What it's really for is like for like talking, like kind of like brief what we call plosives, which you're not gonna get any with this mask on, but so it'll keep like a small gust, but it won't do anything about sustained.
Yeah.
And you'll still hear that in here too. Like this will make it less dramatic. So foam windscreens not a great
Doesn't work
solution.
very well.
It's really about that hair
These ones.
breaking
Okay.
up the wind.
Ooh.
Plus they feel nice. And
That's interesting because mine is actually a foam one and it hasn't worked very much. So that's why I was surprised. I was like, oh my gosh, this Santa hat works better than mine. Maybe it's the hairs on the hat that are kind of like this.
I'm pretty sure it is.
Wow.
So like I was researching like high-end dead cats yesterday because I'm like a nerd. And like they like when you get to the higher end, they start to talk about like hair count.
Whoa.
Like how
so a higher
dense-
hair count is good.
Yeah.
Oh my
It's
gosh.
there's a whole industry around that.
Wow.
Yeah. Anyways,
Interesting.
so yeah, thanks for bringing that up. That's
Yes.
super important when you're shooting outside. I don't even
Totally.
think about it like because I
Mhm.
don't record audio outside that often, but when I do, I bring one of those.
Yeah. And if this doesn't fully do the trick, also just like the positioning of your microphone is important. You can put it somewhere at a certain angle so that it's blocked, either by an actor or by sometimes if you have a reflector or something. Just kind of find the best spot to where you're still hearing what's going on, but it's a little sheltered from the wind will be
And again,
helpful.
being able to monitor your audio while you're out
Yes.
and about. So like there's like specific headphones that you might choose for this too. Like not every headphone is a great choice. Like I really like open back headphones because they sound awesome, but they make a terrible choice for doing anything where recording's happening because you can hear what comes out of them, and they also let sound in from the outside. So if you really need to hear what's happening just on the headphones, and there's popular models include the ones Jay's wearing, the Sennheiser HD 280s, and then he and I also really like the Sony MDR 7506. That is a super common headphone that y'all have seen. If you ever like just seen people like set sound operators, people use them, or they use these. I recently found out there's these like white super isolating ones that I've been seeing a bunch of people
Really?
using,
I have
and
not seen
and what they are is 7506 is built into a custom noise isolating enclosure. Like, this is where I picked this up lurking on the location sound forums. I'm like, what are all these people using? So anyways, choosing headphones that are well isolated. You can use earbuds for this too. Totally fine, as long as you trust what they're doing. The most important thing is like knowing that there's no errors happening. Like like location sound is not you're not like. In the recording studio, we're really worried about like the tone of stuff, and like you want things to sound good on location, but the most important thing is that you're capturing it while it happens, and that it's not, and then you're not screwing it up with like distortion or something like that, So,
and especially when you're outside, there's a lot of things going on that you don't even realize. Like all of a sudden, you start noticing there's airplanes flying by all the freaking time,
cars, birds, wind.
Yeah. So holding for those things, just hold for sound.
Yeah.
If those come up.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's a big one. So yeah, audio is super important. Definitely focus on that, monitor it, all those things. Another thing I wanted to talk about in terms of production was lighting, because I think this is also super important for maximizing your production value, even if you don't have a super fancy camera. If it's a really well lit scene, you're really going to be making the most out of the quality of the image that you do have. And so before you start buying lights, I would say invest in what's called a 5-in-1 reflector, and that's something that can help you in a bunch of different situations. It's not very expensive, and it helps you. Do you have one?
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I was also going to show a quick video about it, too.
You have a video on them?
I do,
that's
yeah.
Probably better then.
Because
You wanted a
it's
real one.
the more, we could do both. Yeah, might as well. It's a more minimal approach. So I would say instead of just starting out by adding lights, look at the light that is naturally in the room. And then this reflector is a kind of a way to sort of manipulate that, just bounce it off or kind of cut some light out, I'm definitely a proponent for natural lighting.
It's a little sandy. We went to the beach.
Oh, nice. That's like an oval one.
Yeah, so
Interesting.
here, you wanna here. Yeah, it was at the beach last time.
Oh, nice.
So got a little sandy.
Want me to-
So it's called a 5-in-1 because
Got a few
so
different.
it comes in this, and so we've got the black side, which will cut light. It's got the reflective side, which will, if it's a really sunny day, be probably overpowering. This is yours reversible? Yeah, it's reversible. So you can also go with a softer, just white, instead of the super strong metallic bounce. And then inside is actually this transparent thing, which you can diffuse light with.
Yeah, that's probably my favorite way to use it.
And then gold, which is, I never really used the gold one.
No. Well, I mean, you can get a real nice warm light off
glow,
of it.
yeah.
But I think my favorite way, as far as So here it is here. See, if I wanted to kind of diffuse, you could probably diffuse the light coming in through the window. Like if we didn't knock the panels on the ceiling.
Totally. If it's like a really harsh light,
so there
I got like this really harsh light coming in from the window. You can you can see how that sort of like
softens it
a bit.
It.
Yeah,
and that's helpful when you're doing like a close-up shot of someone, like for an interview, or because you can't control the sun. That's the hard thing, when you're outside, the sun is hitting everything, and you can't like diffuse an entire scene unless you have, I guess if you have like a 12 by 12. But yeah, let's watch this video really quick. It kind of goes over.
We'll make sure your audio's outputting to the HDMI.
Oh, it doesn't automatically do that, does
I
it?
don't know.
It might, and it might not.
Okay.
Just
should we just try it or no?
Go for it.
I'm gonna adjust. Okay, let's try. Can you hear it? Okay.
Guys, welcome back to my 4th class, and today we're going to talk about lighting ratios. To put it simply, lighting ratios are simply the differences between the light intensity on one side of your subject versus its opposite side. This is a lighting ratio of 1:1, meaning the light intensity on one side of the subject is equal to that on its opposite side. This creates a very flat look. This look is called high key lighting, which is used in a lot of comedy films. As you increase the ratio, you increase the contrast between both sides of your subject. A higher ratio is known as low key lighting, which creates a very dramatic effect. This is very common in action, thriller, and drama films. Lighting ratios can also be used to compare the difference in light intensity between your subject and the background, and it's the same principle as before. A 1:1 ratio is equal lighting between the subject and the background, and as you increase that ratio, you increase that contrast. In order to measure exact ratios of light intensity, you can use a light meter. A tool like this is incredibly useful if you change lighting setups or locations because you can create the exact lighting and proper exposure that you had before. Guys, this tutorial is just barely scratching the surface on the topic of lighting ratios, so if you're interested, I highly encourage you to further your research. I've included a couple links in the description below for some great places to start. But for now, I'll see you in the next class.
Cool, so that one was actually lighting ratios, but now we're gonna watch the one about the reflector. Cool.
Ready?
Mm-hmm.
Guys, welcome back to my 5th and sad to say final class of my series on lighting, and today we're going to talk about one of the most difficult situations for any filmmaker to shoot in, and that is day exterior. While shooting outdoors in the day, you are commonly shooting in one of these two scenarios: overcast and sunny. On an overcast day, thankfully it is a little easier to shoot in because the clouds act as a natural softbox and help eliminate unwanted shadows. However, on a sunny day, the sun can cast some pretty unwanted, harsh shadows. For this situation, there are many quick and easy techniques to help you improve your lighting, and you can do it all with a tool called a 5-in-1 reflector. To bounce light, place your subject so the sun is shining on them from behind. Then, use the white side of your reflector to bounce light onto your subject like a mirror. This helps fill in the shadow side of your subject with soft light. To diffuse light, take off the cover of your reflector to reveal the transparent fabric. Then, put it between the sun and your subject to diffuse and soften the light. Another handy trick that you can do is to cut light. Do this by using the black side of your reflector, also called the negative fill. Place this close to your subject to cut the light and add contrast to the face. Remember, when shooting in the day, the sun is going to move a lot faster than you think, so always keep lighting continuity in mind. It's really nice to have one of these, but remember, if you can't get one, there are so many other options and alternatives that you can find, probably around your house, to create the same effect. Guys, that is all I have for you today, but I hope these tutorials have helped you grasp a better understanding of lighting and can help you as future filmmakers. Good luck, and happy shooting.
Awesome. So yeah, those are just some of the many things you can do with a 5-in-1 reflector. I would say definitely get one of those before you start buying lights, because it can help you not only on daylight exteriors, it can help you inside too. So if you were, for example, shooting an interview or something inside with one person, I would say the first thing that you do is find like a big window and go for that natural light first, and you can use that as like the key light hitting the person that you're filming, and kind of have them at sort of an angle, so you don't want them to be completely just facing the window, because then it'll be a very flat looking image. So have them kind of at a 45-degree angle, so you've got this nice key light coming in. Don't do this if you're filming at night or if the sun's going to set, because you want it to be consistent. But I would definitely try to utilize the light that's already there. So if you do that setup, you can use the reflector to kind of bounce light onto the opposite side of their face if you need to, if it's too harsh of a contrast. But if it's too flat even, you can use the black side, the negative fill, and put that there to sort of darken the opposite side of the face to increase the contrast. And then going beyond like reflectors, I would say, so I've recently found these lights called smart lights that I haven't really seen many filmmakers like use, but I personally think that they're super awesome because they're multifunctional and they can do like a bunch of different color temperatures. So I have them here. The Govee is the brand, and they're so awesome. I don't know, Jay, have you heard about these?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Are they hook up to an app, correct? And
Exactly. Yeah, they're Bluetooth, so don't get the ones. I made this mistake. I got the ones that connect via Wi-Fi, which is not a good idea because when you're going to be out shooting, you might not have Wi-Fi, and that's a whole connection thing that you might have problems with. So Bluetooth is much easier because no matter where you are, you can just quickly connect them to your phone. There's an app that has so many different options because you can make them any color you want. You can make them any brightness level. I forget the wattage, but yeah, 650 lumens. I don't know if that means anything to you guys. But
Nope.
yeah. But it's super cool. They even have this feature where you can pick basically any color that your camera sees. So, I mean, the camera on your phone. So you click the camera, and there's a little target, and you just point it to anything in the room, like any color you want your lights to be, and it will exactly recreate it.
That is so cool.
It's so much fun. And there's a lot of like preset stuff you can do, strobes, like a bunch of different settings and stuff. So they're super awesome. They can work for any situation. And the reason I would recommend them is just because then you don't have to worry about getting like warmer lights and cooler lights and all these different ones. This really does it all. So they're not too expensive. I think they're like $10 each bulb or something, which is like a lot compared to normal light bulbs, but this will basically be everything that you need.
Very cool.
So what do you put those in? Like,
Yeah, you need like a light stand, which you can get those on like eBay, like used. That's what I've done. Anything that's a stand that has like I don't know the terminology for it, but
cool.
Yeah. So those are really useful. I use them a lot. What do you use, Jay?
Well, of course, there's I was just gonna say before I went on a tangent here, like I'm looking at I'm monitoring the stream over here, and I'm seeing the light on Brianna right now, and I didn't close the curtains as much as I usually like. So even like I can see on your face that your face is a little bit overexposed. So like if Corey comes over here and adjusts so these are just like blinds on the window, and we can control
it's like
the
a
light
natural
with that.
dimmer.
So yeah, so
that's way softer already.
Right, but we also lose, that makes it darker in here. But that's already, not too bad. So just like a little bit, you can kind of, really harsh, and then, because it's reflecting off the white, because they're white blinds, so you're getting a bit of reflection into the room, and then all the walls in here are white as well.
Yeah.
So
I really do feel like I'm playing with a dimmer switch. Like I'm watching the stream feed, and it looks like I'm just like turning the brightness
up 5%. Yeah.
So like that's a little bit better. But now how dark are well, we're still pretty good. Maybe Corey's is a little bit darker.
Yeah, I'm getting a little blown out back there, but
yeah, these colors these cameras are fairly good at adapting. They're good auto cameras, so they figure out what brightness is. That's the nice thing about having 3 of the same cameras. They all they have the same brains in them, so they're all going to try to adjust so they all look pretty similar.
I wanted to say something about it when you were talking about it earlier, because that's like an advantage to the cheap camera is like you can get more than one, and then like if you're trying to step up to like a multicam situation, then you don't have the deal of like trying to edit together 2 cameras that look really different.
Right.
Very true.
I think the same thing could be true for microphones too, although like typically like they're pointed at like typically you're not running a ton of mics on set unless you're doing a
Mhm.
really large production,
Mhm.
and like typically they're pointed at individuals and like not like.
Right.
So it's like they just sound however they sound. It's kind of a different
Right,
issue,
right.
but
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah, well, Brianna was asking about what kind of lights I'll use. Typically, I'm definitely an LED fan. Of course, that wasn't always an option, but you a lot of times if you're in a studio or you're at somewhere that's been like, you're in a studio that maybe was is not like even a few years old, like even like at Access Humboldt, for instance, most of the lights there are the what do they call them? They're like they're I'm forgetting the name. Hot
Is the
lights.
word you're looking for, I think.
So the great thing about LEDs is they do not get hot. Same with those bulbs there. They there's a lot of different types of the not fluorescent. Fluorescent you want to avoid as much as possible. That's why the lights are off in this room, because these fluorescent lights are terrible looking.
Yeah. Is incandescent the word you're looking for?
Incandescent? No, they're
Tungsten.
there's a lot of different kinds
Edison?
that you can get into, but LEDs are like, if you're gonna purchase new lights, I would say going for LED lights is gonna be, they're gonna last the longest. They're gonna be this like the most durable. They're gonna be energy efficient. They're gonna be everything. So
yeah, especially if you're battery powering them. They're
right.
Like super. I mean, it's pretty much not an option with any other kind of light, but like you
Right.
definitely want something that's gonna last your whole day.
Any new filmmaker, I definitely recommend just getting LED lights. Now there's a lot of options when it comes to LEDs. They're all essentially the same. You have little tiny bulbs inside, a panel. You can actually see them here. This is an LED light. And it's got, these are called barn doors on here, so you can kind of shape the light to how you like. This one just can plug in and gives you a flat, like solid lighting. And I have a few of these. These were actually donated to the Mars Project from Access Humboldt.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah. So I've used them quite a bit. They're not very bright, but they work well enough in a pinch if you're trying to get some light on your subject, and with multiple of them they work great. These all have the shoe mounts on the bottom of them, so the ones that stick on the top of the camera or onto a tripod, like I have it on this tripod over here. And then like they give you a nice diffuse light, but sometimes it's not diffuse enough. So this is the umbrella. It's essentially the same as the diffuser that we got out earlier, but it's shaped like an umbrella instead. Does the same thing. You could use it the same way, I guess, outside if you wanted to. But it's meant to be on a stand. And so I just put this light on this stand and away I go, and that's the basics, at least that we use here in Mars. There are also, you can get ring lights as well, which I'm sure if any of you have been on social media and on TikTok or Instagram, you'll see ring lights are used, really popular. They are actually really great. There's a reason why they're popular. They work really well. They produce a really good diffuse light.
One. Yeah.
Right. The whole idea behind them is that your camera can sit in the center, and then you have a flat kind of lighting to them. I'm not a huge fan. We did use one here in the studio for a little while until I broke it. But
You hated it that much?
it wasn't that bad. It looked pretty good, but it's not. You can't control them very well. Like with this, at least you can. Like a ring light, you point it a direction, and that's what you get. You can control how bright it is and the color temperature usually, but you can't control where it goes. It's just gonna go in that direction. With these, you can at least if I only wanted a really little tiny bit of light, I can sort of shape it down to to what I need and kind of control it a little better. And it's it's definitely a lot more control just because of the way these are designed.
Does that thing have adjustable temperature too?
Yes, this one does. On the back of it, you have a few different options as far as like the actually this one I don't think these do.
That
These
was
don't
the
have
ring
temperature.
light.
These just have the ring light has the temperature.
Mm.
So the temperature when we talk about lights is essentially how orange the light is or how white the light is. It's I don't think I have anything in here that could demo that, but it's the same way as like everything has a different color temperature. Like whether it's the sun or all these light bulbs have different color temperatures.
So when you're shooting, do you prefer to film people with warmer or cooler?
I'm a warmer
Mhm.
type of guy. I like the warm colors more. I
Yeah.
feel like the blue, the white light it's good if you're gonna be color grading stuff in post.
Mhm.
But I feel like it takes it's just I guess it's a stylistic approach. But for this kind of stuff, like I've set the white balance, which is what controls that color temperature, in all these cameras to be a little warmer than what it actually is in here. That's why these walls aren't actually really white.
They're kind of creamy
They're
looking.
kind of they're kind of, but I feel like to our eyes, like it's a little more natural looking. Like, because the camera would, if I set it to automatically adjust its white balance, it would just take this wall and make it as white as it could. And it wouldn't really account for, like, it is kind of orange in here. Like, if we, like, the sun is kind of has, like, that bluish orange, like, light to it. And that's kind of the vibe that I like that evening sort of sunset color is, I feel like it's nice.
I think it depends on your subject too. If you have a very pale subject, sometimes using the bluer colors would just wash them out.
Yeah, it looks,
So I would agree with you. I like warmer colors as well. What I like to do is for the key light, so the main light, I do like a warmer color temp, and then you can add like either a hair light or a kicker light, which is coming from kind of behind the subject. And I like making that a little cooler because that kind of makes them stand out a little bit more.
Yeah.
I wouldn't recommend like mixing color temperatures, like hitting them on their face. But if you have like a different color temperature behind them, could be a good way to like separate them from the background
Right.
as well.
So like before, when Corey would do the music stuff, when I was kind of experimenting with the lighting setup in here, I had a light bulb behind him that was supposed to act as the key light. But the type of bulb that it was actually produced a greenish light to it. It had kind of a greenish tone to it. And so it turned the white wall green. And it was kind of weird. Like certain lights will do that. Certain, they'll have, whether it's what they're made of or like the actual type of light that it is, if it's like a fluorescent tube or if it's other kind of thing, all lights act a little differently, especially when you put them in front of a camera. You'll be able to tell what they're doing. So I've kind of taken that away. If you look at Brianna's shot now, it's pretty flat, not a lot of contrast. Plus, since we closed the curtains a little bit, you probably actually opened them a little bit.
You want to see?
Just a tad bit, just a bit, because we're losing.
Oh yeah, totally.
So
there we go.
That's nice right there.
Yeah.
So now that introduced a little extra contrast. You can see some more shadows in the background and stuff like that. So it's not quite as washed out. But if we did have a key light behind Brianna, she would really kind of stand out from the background.
Yeah, which is usually good.
But which is something that it would be is like a future project for the studio here that we're hoping to.
Nice.
And if we do more stuff like this, obviously I'd love to have a light for a guest or Corey and wherever we are. I could mount a light on top of this camera, or do a little lighting setup. I could put this back there and have the main table lit up. So but
that's another thing though too. I think a lot of people tend to overdo lighting, especially when they're starting out or thinking that they need to. If something doesn't look right, we need to add another light, and they keep adding lights and adding, and then I don't know. I prefer to like turn all the lights off. Start from the beginning and start with like one source. That's why at the beginning I mentioned just using a window and then bouncing the light off from there.
Exactly.
So I think sometimes less is more when it comes to lighting.
Exactly.
So if you're running into problems, just like turn some of them off and see which one you really need.
I think that's a great general solution for all kinds of problems and these technical kinds of things. You know, like if you have a bunch of mics up too, you know, like if your solution for coverage for audio is like, oh, I'm not hearing everything, throw up a bunch more mics.
Right.
When it comes time to try and mix that stuff, you're gonna be miserable,
True.
and you're probably none of them is gonna be, you know, like it's better just like set up the one that's gonna capture the shot that, you know, like and just
simplicity.
tear it all down and start from scratch. Sometimes,
Start from
like you know,
yeah.
sometimes we gotta do.
Well, like this room here, we have the one window right now. Well, we've got another window, but it's closed. Or the blinds are closed, but the one window, and then we have like these fluorescent lights across the hallway here, but the lights in this room are turned off. So really we have two sources of light, the one window, and then these fluorescent lights over here that are sort of just filling in what the window doesn't. I think even if we turned these lights off, we'd probably still have it would be, obviously it would be darker, so Brianna's left side would be, you want to
see? I'll go do it real quick.
Okay, Corey's gonna run and turn those lights off, and you can probably see, I'm probably gonna disappear. Because I think, that's, you know, it's, you can definitely tell, see, it's a lot darker. So that kind of just fills in that, you know, this side that we don't have the natural light coming from. If we had another window on that side, that would be perfect. Then we'd have all natural light, and it would be awesome.
Totally.
Yeah. That reminds me too. I'm saying like be more minimal with your lighting, but at the same time you don't want to underexpose things because that's what will lower the quality of your video and give you a lot of grain and noise and stuff like that. So.
On that note, is that why you were saying that like shooting a little on the blue side is better for color grading? Is it like preserving more information or anything like that, or is that a different issue?
Not necessarily. It kind of gives you a cleaner slate to add color to.
Okay,
like
because it's more closer to white.
Yeah,
okay.
if your white balance is exposed to white exactly, your camera should always look the same. Like say we were in here and I exposed, I have my little. If I can get it. I'm gonna knock over a bunch of stands. I have my little white plate here. So this is what I use to white balance in the room, although I always adjust it afterwards because I never like the actual like white color like I was talking about.
Yeah.
But say if we took this outside and we put this in front of the camera and told the camera this is white, it will adjust it and it will look, it's kind of confusing really now that I try to explain it. But the camera is going to always try to make white look like white. No matter where you are, no matter what color the light is, the light could be blue in here, and you could show it this and say this is white. The camera is going to try to adjust and make it white. It's always going to try. That's why you set your white balance first, and then you can introduce, like, if you were going to do like RGB colors and things, you know, light your scene in a white, like natural, or like it really is kind of a weird process. The more that I think about it, like critically, lighting is so complicated.
Yeah.
I kind of get what you're saying though. Like figure out where like the like if you're trying to do something colorful, like you're not actually getting an accurate idea of what colors you're producing if your camera is introducing some sort of temperature shift, right? Is that the general gist of what you're saying? So like you get the good white balance, and then you can see what your color lights are actually doing.
Exactly.
I can imagine like those light bulbs being really cool for like maybe not so much like the kind of like narrative stuff maybe, but like, you know, like music videos and kind of fun stuff that, where just being able to light stuff creatively becomes a lot more important.
I used them filming a music video a couple months ago.
So we could talk a whole thing about color.
Yeah. Really, any of these topics, like the audio one too. There's just so much to get into.
Oh geez.
Right.
We've just spent so much time on the stream talking about that I'm happy to get off of it for a little bit.
Exactly. Yeah. So that pretty much wraps it up. I mean, we're out of time, but we could probably have like so many other just production focused live streams because what?
Brianna says we're out of time, so I guess we're finishing our stream.
Oh, I thought we had to. I thought it was just.
No, I mean we
can keep going.
We can keep going if you'd like.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I mean
cool.
we've done 2.5 hour streams before.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's very casual over here.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know if I can go that long tonight, but we can.
Yeah,
we
yeah,
don't
yeah.
have to stop right now.
Corey's getting tired. You can see he's not sitting as close to the camera anymore.
And I was real engaged earlier. I was feeling it, but this couch kind of like sucks me in and makes me like.
Yeah.
Like I'm actually not crazy about sitting in this couch, but getting some guest seating would be a nice addition to the
true.
studio as well.
Yeah. I don't know what we do with the couch, but I mean, I guess we can rearrange things in the studio.
There's not-
but,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we
you know,
have extra
if we move the table, we'd have, you know, we could set up chairs right there. or
Yeah, you could
something.
totally redo the whole setup.
Yeah, for if you can't tell, we're in a room that's the size of a bedroom, but it's kind of like sort of missing a wall, so it feels more open than that. But it doesn't sound quite as bad as a bedroom because this wall is kind of open and there's like two doors and then hallways going off that way, so it's like it's all the sound gets to leave instead of echoing around.
Which
in
is
here.
nice.
Yeah.
We're lucky that it's kind of like that. Otherwise,
Oh
we'd be
man,
fighting with an echo.
we would have moved all the paneling out of the studio a long time ago. Gotta get out here.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that would have been. But yeah, cameras. Let's what else is in production? As far as equipment goes, yeah, I think we covered lighting,
Yeah, equipment's pretty
cameras,
good.
sound.
I guess
There's a lot more that we could talk about too in terms of like composition. Because I was looking at our footage and just kind of what's around us. If you're shooting an interview, you know, like how to sort of set up the scene, what sort of items you want in frame.
Yeah, we
There's
can
a
talk
lot.
about composition if you want to. Since we've got you in the
Sure.
spot to be.
Yeah, we can set
So-
it up.
Of course, right now I have, I don't know how well you guys can hear me. Probably okay, I guess. Probably
Mhm.
coming in different mics, but this guy's, you know, center framing.
Yes.
Sometimes when Corey's doing his music thing, I'll kind of have more of a left-leaning frame where you can sort of see what he's working on. But say if you were doing an interview, you want to always give your, I mean not always,
I have
but
a tiny bit of headroom.
rule of thumb, yeah, headroom.
Detail.
I'm a close in kind of
Me too. yeah.
filmer. So
Like
like
frame it.
if I was to let me unlock this a little so I can move. So we can go like
Mm-hmm.
extreme close up.
Oh jeez.
You know, that's a pretty, you know, common shot really. And a
It
lot of
is,
people
yeah,
will-
cutting off the forehead a bit.
Mhm. So you can give, you know, some people do like go by the rules so much that they give so much headroom that
Oh
it's
yeah,
kind of
not
weird.
good.
Yeah.
That feels weird.
Yeah.
But it's kind of cool to live demo it. So like if I,
Mhm.
you know, doing a more, obviously the closer you get to your subject, the more like a personal kind of, you know, you'll see some like interview videos that are like very emotional and people like they'll get the cameras right in their face.
Yes, totally.
mean, Not really right in their face. I'm still, you know, a good 6 or 7 feet away,
Mhm.
but with the zoom.
Yeah, that's why I personally prefer like telephoto lenses too, because then it blurs out the background in interviews, which is really nice.
That's the one thing that so we've got the 3 cams set up here because there's 3 of us, but when
Mhm.
it's just me on the stream, like Jay brings this other camera
Yeah, yeah.
that
Right,
where he
his
gets that
nice
nice
one.
depth of field.
Totally. Yeah, that's a good one for sure.
So-
But yeah, I agree. And talking about like the different distances that you want to be at in the framing, what I typically do if I'm interviewing someone is it's not like you're going to have them redo the interview at a different angle. So what I do is I start out with like a wider shot, and then partway into the interview, I just like change the camera angle and distance. And that way when go back and edit it, it's almost like there's multiple cameras.
Right.
But yeah, you're able to like go in closer for some of it. Wow, this gets really wide.
Yeah, see,
Yeah.
this is kind of a weird. It doesn't feel as like we feel kind of disconnected, like far away almost.
Yeah,
you
I'm
look-
sad.
You look a lot further away than you are. Like,
Exactly.
Like you're what, like
I
6
do.
feet, 6 or 7 feet away from her right now, but it looks like 10 almost.
So, yeah, these
That's
can go
kinda
pretty
crazy.
wide, and you can get a fairly wide field of view. I'm not
Mhm.
sure what a lot of these cheaper cameras don't tell you exactly what the focal length is.
Yeah, because it's not a lens. It's just like
Yeah. It says. Yeah, I don't know.
a.
It's there. Sometimes
wide.
weird, but it's
pretty
pretty wide.
Yeah.
But we
yeah.
can kind of crop in, and
Mhm.
there's, you know, of course you have.
Oh wow, am I
plenty
getting
of zoom.
overexposed again?
Yeah, the
I
sun.
think it's
goes
just
in.
yours. It's
Oh,
hitting you.
there's like a vertical
You're just
strip.
getting like
Okay.
a straight
Yeah.
little splash of sun there. like through the little people.
Yeah, and then also, like, depending on who you're interviewing, I would say, like, sort of set the production design in a way that gives you a certain vibe or a certain tone that relates to the character of the person or what they're talking about.
Does our scene here, like, set your
We've
vibe?
got a camera set up. We've got some crystals. I'm not sure. It's a little mixed, but I think it's definitely, we're in a studio.
Yeah, I think it represents Mars very well.
Yeah,
Not necessarily
yeah,
you personally,
exactly,
but it represents
exactly.
the vibe here very well. I feel like.
I think so.
Yeah.
Like if you're talking with someone who's an expert in something, maybe put them in a library or like at their desk, you know, with their
Setting is very
workstation behind them.
So in this case, also with another note on framing, since Brianna is kind of talking to both of us, I'm usually sitting like straight. The reason I had her center framed is because I'm sitting straight in front of her at the computer station.
Yes.
And that,
Since
you
you
know.
do most of the blabbering, I'm looking at you, so I'm looking straight ahead.
So like if I would had her like right now kind of off to the left, and I think it is left for you guys too. If it was just Corey and Brianna, I would probably just have her off the left so that she has look room. Say if you were talking to Corey, so if you turn your body.
Yeah. Hey, look room.
Oh.
So or turn
Wait, what?
turn that. There you go. To your right.
Then it looks.
Right. See then. So if you're talking to Corey,
Yeah.
So like if I framed her this way, but she's talking to Corey, like
What's
sitting there like
that?
looking off the side of the screen. It's like,
Yeah.
what? But it looks
Totally.
fine going this way.
And then you can do a whip pan to him as we're gossiping.
Jazzy hands. See, there's an extreme
Nice.
close up.
Yes. Just
Still doing those jazz hands.
But of course I don't have to move the cameras because we have the switcher, so maybe I'll
Exactly.
leave. So I'll set it back up where it kind of was. Like, you know, a tiny bit of headroom.
I'm a little too tall for this.
That's all right. You kind of see what's going on the desk.
Yeah.
Because typically, I mean, when we're doing Corey's streams, we have equipment on the desk, so it's kind of cool to see what all is going on there.
Trying to show off the
Totally.
fun toys and all that.
Exactly.
And of course, typically, we have the top-down camera too, which
Oh yeah.
the stands are over there for it. They're just.
Which camera is that? Not one of these.
It is, yeah. We typically
okay.
use, so I
It'd be
bring.
like this one, I guess.
Yeah, I bring in now that we're doing more like the talk back and forth thing, which I think was definitely an improvement on the format.
Oh man, so much. Such an improvement.
It cuts Corey some slack a little bit because you can kind of generate that conversation. But yeah, one of these would be mounted on the stand over there, and then you would use the Panasonic camera as our main camera that gives us that shallow depth of field and that nice it is 4K, but the ATEM here, the switcher, only does 1080, so but it's still a 4K sensor, so even if you're cropping down to 1080, it still produces a really nice picture.
Huh. Is that like a truism? Is like if you like a 4K sensor better than a 1080 sensor for 1080?
Sort of. I mean
definitely.
yeah, the big thing though that people do, like say you wanted an 8K camera, and like people say, oh, what's the point of that? Like there's no TV that would watch 8K.
Right. Yeah.
But the reality is that you're taking you're filming in 8K, you're getting those huge files, and then when you go to edit it, you're shrinking that 8K down to 4K or to 1080, and that is the crispiest 1080 or 4K that you can get. Of course, there's 16K cameras and
Right.
these ridiculous
So unnecessary.
Max cameras and crap.
Right, but for a consumer, an 8K camera, you wouldn't publish, you wouldn't put on. I don't think YouTube can do 8K yet, but you would scale it down. You wouldn't crop it, but you would actually scale it in to fit it to the frame. If we were say right now, I can actually kind of demo it. Say this was 4K a feed from the ATEM into I could, like, it would be much larger. Like, I can actually resize this window and, like, zoom in effectively. But, of course, this is only a 1080 video. But if you brought in a 4K source, it would kind of look like this. And it would be bigger. Like, I'm cropped out. Like, I can kind of, plus you can do this if you have an 8K. You can move things around. You can, like, reposition your framing.
Oh, so, yeah. Oh, man.
Right.
Yeah.
The audio equivalent of this is like high bit depths. 32-bit audio is the new hot thing in location sound. I don't know if y'all know about this.
Okay.
The like new Zoom recorders like do 32-bit audio, and they have like dual AD converters, so they record both a high and low volume version of what you're doing.
So
there's ones that just record 2 files. There's a loud one and a quiet one.
Okay.
This is even more magical than that.
Whoa.
It's 1 file.
Yeah.
And it can't clip.
So
you can be as loud as you possibly want, and you can't clip it.
That's amazing.
Wait, how does that work?
It has like if you send it too loud a signal, it goes to the low gain converter.
Oh.
And when you send it a quiet signal, it gets a high gain converter.
Is it adjusting as you're going, or does it give you all 3 options?
It just spits out 1 file in the end.
Whoa.
But it's
That's
so audio. There's 2
Dang.
There's 2 axes of measurement on audio. There's the sample rate, which is how often you measure it, and then there's the bit depth, which is like how much detail with which you measure it. So like we've heard about 8-bit music, right? That's like from like Nintendo. That's why that music sounds all like.
Is that like kind of like pixels?
It's kind of like the equivalent of pixels.
Okay.
Yes, totally.
All right.
Although the analogy really falls apart.
Okay.
Really fast.
Oh.
But yeah. But so like so the like how often you sample is like how high frequency you can get. So like there's a thing I was telling Jay about the Nyquist theorem, which is you need double the sampling rate to capture any frequency. This is why 44.1 and 48 kilohertz are really common sampling rates.
They are.
44.1 because that's half of that is 22, which is well over. It's well clear of the highest frequency we can hear, which is about 20,000 hertz.
Okay.
And then that gets bumped up to 48K to sync with 24 frames per second.
24 frames. What?
And that's,
okay, I didn't know that.
That's the why. That's why. Oh yeah. So hey, sample rates for music nerds.
Yeah.
We're usually making 44.1 sample rate stuff for audio, but for film the standard is 48.
48. Yeah.
So I've just switched to working at 48 all the time, because if my thing's gonna go to video, it'll be right, and if it's gonna go to audio, it'll just get down sampled to 44.1. That's fine. So not a big deal.
You can always go down. You can't go up.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
It's
kind
like
of like frames per second as well.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. It's like frame or image resolution in that regard.
Yeah,
You can scale it up, but it just blows up the pixels.
Right,
You know,
right.
you can't reclaim lost. Anyway, so 32-bit audio is just basically like it's so high resolution that's basically infinite.
Really? Can you not hear the difference between 32 and what is it, 16? What's the one below 32?
So 32 and then 24 is where a lot of like studio audio recording gets, and then 16. So this is bit. Okay, this is the other thing. So bit depth, how many bits of data each sample is, like so how much information. So it's literally like bits, like zeros and ones, right? So 32 bits the big one, then 24 is like common for working, and then 16 is like the final product typically.
Would you be able to hear the difference though between 24 and 32?
No, I don't think so.
No. Okay.
Like some people say, okay, like there's a lot of this like, can you hear the difference stuff in audio, and like, man, I don't know. I don't even like think that most people can hear the difference between a nice MP3 and a WAV file if like.
Right, we were just talking about that where you guys thought it was the shotgun mic, but it was.
Oh yeah, well that's a slightly different issue because that's like 2 different sources and like how does it sound.
Okay.
But like if you listen to the same song in like a high resolution MP3 and a low resolution in like a CD quality WAV file, they're virtually indistinguishable.
Right.
And so like
it's all just pretentious, no.
well partially, but it's kind of like capturing like a 8K footage. You know, it's not going to be as like obviously sharper, but it's like when you start processing it and like doing stuff to it, then like having that extra data just lets it, you know, you can reframe it kind of thing.
Right. This might be a dumb question, but I'm wondering if it compares to film in the way, like, I mean, obviously with 8K, it's kind of like you're allowed to put it on a bigger screen when it's a higher resolution because you can see more detail. Is it similar where, like, if you play it really loudly, or like is there any equivalent there?
Like there might be. So like the lower the resolution of the audio gets, you start to hear what's called aliasing, like in the high frequencies. There's this like gnarly effect where like any frequencies that are above like what gets cut off. So MP3s basically start throwing away high frequency information. Most like MP3s like don't have anything above 16K, and and lower bit rates even go even lower.
It's the same thing it does in film. Like it's because it's the same term too. Like if you compress a video too much, your dark colors start to. That's the weird like you get that weird artifact in the video, the dark in the dark parts of the. Like if you watch a movie that was like ripped off a DVD or something, and it's like, really low compression rate.
So like smeary weird blacks. Yeah. Oh, it's terrible.
Same kind of the aliasing sort of idea.
Oh, they call it aliasing.
There is, I'm pretty sure that's the term.
Okay.
It definitely is a photo term as well.
Yeah, it's. I think it's like just a digital signal processing concept in general.
Right.
But yeah, so that's interesting. So like the darks or like the blacks or like the high frequencies in the audio are the things that just get chucked. So like if you're listening at home on your like whatever earbuds, you might not tell the difference. But if you're like at an EDM festival and and the DJ is playing like 24-bit WAV files from their CDJs, and then they chucked on an MP3, like you might notice.
Oh,
like
nice.
MP3s like kind of sound janky. This is veering far out of the area, but when you downsample to MP3, it actually raises the volume. And digital audio so this is weird. Downsampling always adds noise, which raises the volume. Yeah. So this is like an important thing to know if y'all are like formats. WAV or AIF are like the formats for uncompressed audio. Like when you record things, you should be recording those formats. Do not record MP3s. MP3s add silence at the beginning. I learned this the hard way.
What?
Yes, if you convert a WAV file to MP3, it adds like 10 milliseconds of silence, so you cannot sync an MP3 to video with any ease at all. You will have a miserable time.
Interesting.
You'll hate your life. Or you just move it back 10 milliseconds on the timeline. That's not a big deal.
Can you explain the phenomena of how sometimes this has happened to me where I film something that has both video and audio, and then I go to sync it, and then the audio is like slightly slower than the video, so it keeps getting out of sync.
Yeah. This is a weird one. I don't really fully understand why this happens, but it's a thing.
I thought I was going crazy.
No, it's a real thing.
I was like, time just is linear. It just happens. Like, how is it warping time?
Like, I'm not really sure why, like... But I know what the solution is, I guess, right? Do you understand why that happens, Jay?
Yeah, well...
Is it a sample rate thing?
I think it is the sample rate if the video...
I can see it happening if you were recording audio at 44.1 accidentally and then tried to sync it at 48 and it didn't convert properly because the software should just translate it directly so it doesn't sound any different. But if your software is not handling that correctly or some settings wrong or something, like it could, it might try to play it back faster because it's expecting more samples per second.
Oh, wow. Yeah. So, like, if my project settings are at 48 or whatever, but it's
surely are. And you're trying to import some 44.1 audio, that possibly could be a thing.
Yeah.
But that's not the only thing. So sometimes there's there's this weird thing where just like they just drift and like the internal clocks in like our devices don't synchronize very well.
How does that happen, though?
I do not understand it, but there is a solution. And the solution is timecode.
Oh.
This is what timecode's for.
Yeah.
So timecode is timecode's an old school technology. Timecode comes from tape. When they needed to sync audio and video when they were recording it all on tape, imagine the nightmare of that, right? So they came up with this thing where they basically would print an audio track that was just like this. It's called timecode. It's not something you'd actually hear in the production. But one of the tracks on the tape would be devoted to this digital information, I believe, that they could use to then line up all the different things. Right. So that's like a very layman's explanation of the history. But so now basically it's like this idea of like all of our devices have clocks in them, and if they have timecode and timecode sync, they can synchronize their clocks. So this is one of the main features that like you get when you step up from like a kind of consumer sort of recorder to like a more pro model. So like Zoom tends to make like this like consumer kind of stuff, but they step up to these pro features. They make ones called the F6 and the F8 that have timecode features for syncing with cameras.
Oh, nice.
And so like if y'all really want to nerd out location sound stuff, the kind of preferred tools are these little mixer recorders from this company called Sound Devices, which you've surely seen those. And yes, thank you, Aletta. Time code sync difference. Yeah,
it is.
we're
okay, cool.
Thank you so much. We're definitely more on the creative side than the technical side, even though we're trying our best over here. So
we're still all learning. I mean, like, you know, it's really a process. I don't think Brianna's probably had the most like professional as far as like being on like real sets per se, you know.
But I mean, even me being on set, I'm like first AC, second AC, so
still like you're there. I mean, Corey, obviously you've been in the music world for a long time.
But like my experience is mostly as talent.
Right.
So it's like a really different experience. Like on a video shoot, it's a very different experience. Like, you know, like you can think about completely different.
And I learn these things as I go. So, or watch YouTube videos.
Yeah, totally. There's a whole lot.
Hundreds of YouTube videos. That's where all my knowledge comes from.
What's an oscillator?
You mean like an oscillator, like a generator, or like an oscilloscope? I'm just guessing. I have a lot of oscillators. So like an oscillator, basically like a tone generator is like the typical thing. Like in synthesizer world, because I'm an artist, not a technician. That's like the part that generates a tone. And they can generate basically different shapes. Oh yeah, sweet. A scope. Oscilloscope, basically a waveform measuring device that lets you zoom in a sound like in real time and kind of like see what the waves are looking like as they occur. Basically kind of gives like just interesting way of measuring it. You probably run a few different inputs into the oscilloscope. And, I see.
It shows the waveform.
Yeah, so this is like, I'm used to these terms from like the synthesizer world and like, you know, music technical world. So like,
what do these things look like? Aren't they like for medicals?
No,
like, these all look kind of like medical things.
Most like old like electrical test equipment looks like a medical device.
Yeah, it looks like looks like a heart rate monitor kind of.
No, it's pretty much that, but for sound or for electrical. It's not just sound. It's for like electrical signals of any kind. Yeah. Sound being the primary place that I interact with them, but like I imagine you'd use these for like analyzing voltage, like all kinds of stuff. I don't know. Maybe Aletta can tell us what people use it for outside of this field.
Is this one here? Is that kind of what they look like?
Yeah, that's kind of the general idea. This looks like.
Is that sort of? Did I find one that looks right? Or is this like a? I don't know if it has the right things on it, but. It says sound on it.
Yeah. So
I don't know if it can generate sound, but
no, they're generally just for observing the things. But so we'd probably like, I'm not sure how we'd actually test this thing out, but you might have to send us an email, Aletta. I don't know if we're gonna pick this up from your chat. You sound like you have.
Do you know how you can do that on Instagram Live? Like someone can join the live stream.
Oh yeah. I don't know. You can have guests over Zoom. Eventually, with something we definitely want to try.
That's really cool. Have you as a guest.
Yeah, no, it's
take
man,
over and
you're making me want to go like do a bunch of research. Jeez.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean that's part of the that's kind of what Corey and I as mentors are catalysts to research. Like we do the research for you, so you don't have
to. That is a large portion of the position for sure. Yeah. But it's great. I mean, that's super fun.
That would be a 2-channel one, and you would use it to analyze the difference between the two signals, high and sound voices too.
Cool. Yeah. So like you might like use that to check and see if like I guess you'd probably feed the audio from like the mic and from the camera into it and see if they were drifting or something like that.
Interesting. Yeah, I'd really love to get into that whole like time code world. It feels like it's a super useful tool, even I guess.
I mean, you're running into problems with it.
Yeah.
Like so, it's like obviously it's like not like it's not only a thing for high end filmmaking or large production.
Yeah.
It's like it's an issue.
Right. Anytime you're trying to sync audio, like if you have a separate recording device, that's kind of why I'm trying this thing right now with the ATEM. Is all the mics we have. Well, 2 of the mics right now are feeding into cameras. I don't know how. It probably, honestly, I'm not liking how it's sounding, but that's just me. And
so what's the problem with it?
We're getting a bit of echo.
Right. Yeah.
I just realized that I'm not very loud, so I'll turn myself up. But
it's
yeah,
hard to do in such a small space to have all these separate mics. I feel like
I think
is almost enough.
it would be really nice if we each had our own lav mic.
Yeah.
We could just like, chill and with our lav mics and not have to do like
Or if you had one huge one hanging from the ceiling.
just
Not
an
all of us.
omnidirectional
Yeah,
like
omnidirectional.
room noise. I don't know how. I mean, we can
could
always
bring
try it.
We got Omni mics.
Yeah. See what it might pick up a lot of the. I can tell that my camera's picking up the computer that's right here.
Oh, right.
So I can hear the fan noise in this
Well,
mic here.
We're all looking towards the same spot. Like if there's one on a stand there.
One
we're
in the
all
center
kinda-
of the room?
Yeah.
That might work pretty good actually.
So like it might, but it's gonna be so roomy.
Yeah.
Like that's so
Be able
like
to tell where we are.
right. So like the Omni
very
is gonna pick
true.
up everything from every direction equally,
Uh-huh.
but it's gonna pick us up all equally poorly, and do it would be like something that we've been talking about doing is doing a mic shootout on the stream.
Yeah.
What's
And,
that?
Like just setting up a
Comparing
ton
them?
of microphones
What's the
and
shootout?
comparing them.
Okay.
No, we all stand at opposite ends of the room with our shotgun microphones, and whoever draws first,
Oh my god.
No, just to like kind of like experiment with like different sounds and stuff, and like I've got a few different mics with like switchable polar patterns, so we can like
Yeah.
hear what the same mic sounds like
Yes.
in like a cardioid versus Omni
Totally.
or something.
Mhm.
I never really get like. I shouldn't say I don't get to. I don't often like play around with that kind of stuff, and I thought it
Yeah.
would make an interesting subject for a stream. Just like
Yeah.
since we're going real deep into this tech stuff, like
Mhm.
Yeah.
just it's hard for me to explain like you can see the difference in like when you adjust camera stuff, but like I can like talk. It's like to talk about this mic stuff. I just need to set up another mic and point it at my mouth, and you can hear the difference.
Exactly.
And it should be pretty obvious.
Right. So we could bring in the big mixer and plug all the different mics in, and
Yeah, I'll bring the Apollo, I think.
yeah.
Yeah,
Really fun to see
man.
how that-
Aletta, can you chat into the stream every week? We appreciate you a lot.
Yeah, totally.
It's great to know that people are watching. We've got quite a few people watching this evening.
Nice.
I'm excited. Shout out to our 5 viewers on YouTube.
Woo.
But the Facebook people are slacking, so.
I mean, I actually really want to like have a conversation with you, Aletta, about this. I'm curious how you know this and
Yeah, what's
how
your
we can apply.
background?
Yeah, I'm curious how to apply this knowledge to what I know. But
Yeah.
that's probably a time for a different stream.
Yeah, we
maybe.
could bring you on as a guest.
Yeah,
That'd be really cool. That's why I like the idea of that Rodecaster with the Bluetooth phone thing.
Oh,
We could just give you a
yeah.
call and like bring you right into the stream just on like instantly. Would be amazing. Wouldn't that be so cool?
That's
Oh,
really sweet. Thanks,
nice.
Aletta.
Oh, awesome.
Cool.
Yeah. If anyone out there wants to get in touch with Mars or Access Humboldt,
Yeah.
if you're curious about what we're doing here and or would like to school us on what we don't know or whatever,
Yeah.
please do. We're on Instagram.
Yeah.
We're on Facebook.
Totally.
We're available. If you
Mhm.
search us, we are findable. We have phone numbers and emails. I don't
Yeah.
know if we need to list them in the stream, but
Yeah.
we'd love for y'all to get in touch. Yeah.
That'd be really cool.
Totally.
So, yeah, how do you guys feel? We're at an hour 30. Should we?
Yeah, we
That's
covered.
pretty healthy.
We covered a
Yeah.
lot of good stuff, I think.
Yeah.
Okay.
Although,
Mhm.
just want to keep talking to Aletta a bit.
Yeah, I know.
Please hit us up. I'm curious to talk to you. Like,
Definitely.
Yeah, I'd like to know what you know.
Mhm.
That would be really cool.
Yeah.
We definitely want to start doing that. Been throwing around that podcast idea, and I think that's like,
Aletta, you just blew my mind. Aletta says the acoustic knowledge is based
That's
on sound
crazy.
processing for undersea warfare, which, wow.
I'm
I'm speechless, but that's fascinating.
That is so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't even know. I'm speechless. That's very interesting.
That's
Interesting.
pretty awesome, yeah.
That would be great. Yeah, we
Mhm.
definitely, starting on that podcast, I think that would be, a great opportunity to bring people from the community in and just like, talk about what they know. And,
Yeah.
even if it's techie, like, it's cool to, like, explore those things. And it gets you thinking about them. And it's like, oh, I, never knew how that worked. I should go look into that. Or, like, maybe I'm actually really interested in being a sound engineer. And, like,
Mhm.
Yep.
so, there's a lot of possibilities, and I think that would be really cool to bring people on that know a lot more than we do.
Yes.
Because, I
Very
mean,
true.
like Corey said, like, we're more on the creative side, and and that's we're in the encouraging creativity business.
I love that.
So I think that's a big part of. I feel like that's kind of Mars in a nutshell, and of course Access Humboldt has a lot to do with that as well. They their youth programs and stuff like that, and their workshops a lot of times are for the greater community really, but also because the Access classes are for everyone, and our stream is for everyone. There's no restriction to who can join and participate in our stream. So
absolutely. I'm just into knowledge sharing, and like I also just want to like demystify this tech stuff for myself and for everyone else. Like I got into it because I like making noise and wanted to know how to record it.
Right.
And like here I am, trying to explain it to other people as best I can. So just love hearing perspectives on it.
I think it's a cool thing for like our smaller community to explore these things locally. I don't know. It seems kind of neat. Like we don't have a lot of that sort of industry here, where like you can't really go get a sound engineer job in Eureka or in the greater Humboldt area.
But I also know the people who have them,
right?
And they probably would come talk to us.
Yeah.
We could hit up Chad or Dominic or whatever. Oh man, Aletta, you're gonna have to shoot us an email or something like that. We'd love to help you out.
Oh, that would be amazing. Yeah. I'm glad that that was useful. That was
awesome.
That was a fun one for me. I enjoy sharing the live stream setup. I think it's really cool. So yeah, let us know and we'll totally help you out with that for sure.
And who are your students? Is it Eureka High? Or I'm curious what media production class you teach.
Yeah, is that what do you remember what school are you teaching at, Aletta?
Gosh, I don't know Jim or Rob. Why do I know those people?
Oh my gosh.
Oh, Eureka
Okay,
High.
cool.
Yeah. That's what I thought.
Oh, that's awesome.
Okay. So you're right there, by Access Humboldt too.
Mm-hmm.
So, but
Well, thanks so
sweet.
much for making this stream extra credit for your students.
Yeah, that's really cool.
That is cool.
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah,
That's
in the
so
IT
cool.
building. Gosh,
Yeah.
I have a lot of hours spent in that building with with Mr. Middlemas and and all the computer labs and stuff, and of course in Access Humboldt too.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot of good memories, a lot of learning in that building. It's kind of started my whole film adventure. I feel like was in that space. So.
Mhm.
A lot of good memories there, and it was definitely really great. Was the sound engineer for The Dead?
That sounds super fun. I wrote that down, and I'm going to be following up on that, Aletta. That would be really neat. Thank you so much for chatting in.
Totally.
It makes it's nice to know those people are watching, and I'm glad to hear that it's useful for somebody. So
You see that one?
Mhm.
Right, yeah.
Cool.
Awesome. Well, we'll definitely, hopefully, see a lot of you next week. I think we're doing, we're gonna have Mo here.
Yes.
I'm not sure what she's gonna be talking to us
It's a surprise
about.
topic.
I guess it's a surprise.
Yes.
So I'm sure you'll probably see some Instagram posts and things eventually once we get that out there. It's going to be more on production, right? I believe we're keeping with the same kind of theme of,
Yes.
of film production.
Yeah.
So we'll see. I don't know what we haven't covered yet, but she might have some interesting insight for us. So I'm excited.
Totally.
But yeah, awesome guys.
Cool. She did, yeah.
Okay, cool. So the word is getting out. Okay, awesome. So she'll be here in the studio with Corey and I. And I don't know, Brianna, if you want to do, I guess, well, I'm trying to think of a way that we can, like,
Do all of us.
do all of us. And maybe
That
if you
would
want
be
to do
cool.
a Zoom, come in on the Zoom call or
Oh,
something.
true. Yeah,
That's-
if you can
we
add
can
it in
try
there.
that out and test that out and kind of showcase bringing in a Zoom call
guest
into
person,
the
yeah.
live stream.
Oh yeah.
Might be kind of a good good chance for us to test that out.
Yeah, we haven't done that yet.
Yeah, something that I definitely want to do. So
Yeah, definitely. The other thing, Aletta, is that I've been filming a lot of Access Class videos, which I don't know if you've seen them. They're on our YouTube. So they're just like a bunch of different people usually in the area who are like artists or have different areas of expertise. So if you or anyone you know would be willing to have one filmed, we can coordinate that. Basically, they're just like 2 minutes long, just talking about any area of art. It doesn't even have to be art, like the sound engineer stuff could be a really cool topic too. So yeah, if you're willing to do that or anything, you could reach out. I'm trying to get more like community people who have, of course, I don't know why I didn't think of it.
I'm done.
Corey will have an upcoming access class. Yeah.
Did Gabe ever do one?
Lubo?
Mm-hmm.
No, I kept reaching out to him and he was like, yeah, I'm working on it.
Gabe, I'm shaming you on the stream right now, man. Get it done.
I think he's just a perfectionist. He's just
Yes,
perfecting.
I know that about him.
Mm-hmm. Yes. That's cool. You were working on that with him?
No, we were in a band together. So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Aletta says she'll do one
Oh, sweet.
during the summer.
Yeah, totally. That would be
Gonna be
awesome.
a busy summer.
Mm-hmm. Sometime in June would be great.
Very cool.
Yeah, we'll be in touch.
Love it.
Just.
I still feel like I've been really quiet like this whole
Mhm.
time.
Yeah, if you guys are on Instagram, you can message Access Humble. I'm not sure where you're. I guess you're watching from YouTube, but
Yeah, our emails are around.
yeah.
Of course, marsproject@inkpeople.org, and I guess it could.
Brianna
yeah.
at accesshumble.net.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, I think that wraps it up for
Totally.
us
Thanks
tonight.
so much for joining in.
Cool.
Appreciate
All right.
it.
Thank you for
Wait.
coming and
You learned a
presenting.
little something. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, it was great having you,
Great being
Brianna.
here.
Hopefully, we'll have you back in the studio sometime.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Cool.
See
All right,
you
guys.
next Thursday.
Bye.
Take care, y'all.
Bye.